Do you need inspiration for your cover dies? Today I've got two very different ways to use the Garden Trellis die from Altenew. It's time for another Take Two with Therese, and I've got a lot of fun for you here today using the new Garden Trellis die. And this is a cover die, so it actually covers the whole front of a card. I'm going to show you two very different ways to use it. I'm starting off with a kind of a rainbow technique, and I've chosen some colours that I thought flowed really well together. You can just use your scraps of cardstock for this because you're not going to need the whole section in one colour. So as I was cutting them out, I made sure that I want the top to be the darkest purple and then the reddish colour to be in the bottom. So I made sure that I had some corner pieces and some edge pieces for those because I knew I was going to need them when I started doing my inlay technique, which we'll go into in a moment. Otherwise, I just cut out a sort of a varying amount of the cardstocks here and kept them in little piles of the colours. And I off to the side here on the right, you can see I actually kept little swatches of the colour in the order that I wanted to have them because I knew I would forget. Now I'm working directly on my card front here, and this is some Nina 110-pound cardstock already folded. And the great thing about these cover dies is they actually cover the whole front of your card. So they can be awesome as a background, like as a subtle tone-on-tone background, or they can be a real feature and the predominant feature of your card, which is what I'm doing today. So this cover die is going to be the main focus of this first card. I'm doing some simple inlay technique here, and that is why I added the adhesive to the whole front of the card, because I didn't want to have to come in with a liquid glue, but you could certainly do that. I have done it myself. This is a little bit of a labour of love. It was a little bit fiddly, but a lot of fun. I didn't want these colours to flow perfectly, so you might notice I'm kind of mixing it up a little bit and I'm staggering them. So I have most of the dark purple at the top, then most of the light purple, and then I have most of the mountain mist. Oh, actually, I think it was the volcano lake colour, not the mountain mist. My apologies. And then I sort of staggered a couple of the colours in amongst the others. You'll see there's a little bit of the orange in the green, and then there's some red in the orange. And I did make sure to add those tiny little triangles around the edges, and that's why when I did my initial die cutting, I made sure to include those. So now I'm using this is a liquid glue, it's a chisel pen, so I've been using this a little bit to layer up my die cuts. So I wanted there to be a real sort of focus on the Garden Trellis die here. So I actually layered this little baby up 4 times in total, counting the base layer. So there is 3 layers above the base layer. I decided it would be easier to do the inlay technique while I only had the one layer of the cover die on there. You could certainly leave it at that. I just wanted to have the die sort of popping up as the main focus and then have the rainbow colours in the background a little bit. So I'm working on my sentiment now, and I've white heat embossed a sentiment from the Sentiment Strips 2 set on some of the purple cardstock. And this might look a bit black, but this is actually the deepest purple colour, which is called Midnight Violet. And I didn't use any black in this card at all. I know. I always have black in my cards, at least in the sentiment or stamped. And there's no, oh yes, no, I'm lying. There is a little bit of stamping with the heat embossing. So I did stamp on this card. I was going to get all excited and say I didn't, but maybe the next card. So very little stamping today. If you're not a stamper and you love to die cut and play with your colours, then both of today's cards are for you. So I popped up the sentiment on the center of the card and then added my sub-sentiment as well, just straight over top. And that's from the Hello and Hugs die set, that big word hello Isn't it sweet? I really, really, really like this die and stamp set. I've been using it all of the time. Alright, this is like magic here because it looks like I'm cutting nothing. This is my second card. I decided I wanted to use some acetate today. I've been using some of the alcohol ink, you know, the artist marker re-inkers on acetate lately, and I thought it'd be really fun to add some to an acetate. I was planning my card in my head, and this is what came up. Wasn't my best idea because I forgot to put the metal shim in my Gemini Junior, and I was using extra thick acetate. You don't need to. I did have to come in and cut away the portion that was annoying me, but I did get there in the end. It probably would have been easier had I just recut the acetate, but I didn't want to waste it. And here's where I'm adding just a few of the different colours of the alcohol ink, the artist marker re-inkers, and I'm mixing up some of the greens and the purples again, and I'm using the blower to kind of mix the colours around. I didn't want to add any of the blending solution here. Not a lot of mixing is really happening, so I did actually come in and add colour over top. And what I'm colouring up here are some pieces, and they're die cut from the Open Bloom. It's a 3D die set, and I die cut a few acetate leaves, as well as a couple of layers of the flower. And here's the Garden Trellis Cover Die. I just kind of wanted a wash of the, you know, that beautiful blue-green colour that I use all the time in my cards. I just wanted over some of the acetate. So next I created a frame, and this is using some of the halftone squares and just layered them on some white cardstock and cut them out. I've also been doing some other die cutting. I used some of the shades of purple cardstocks here and cut a few pieces of the Open Blooms as well, thinking I can just sort of layer them up and have a look and see what I think works best. I used a combination of liquid glue and chisel glue and glue tape to join my flower together. And what I decided to do is I wanted this acetate to sort of sit up off the front of the card behind this frame, so I added some adhesive and glued that down, and then added some foam squares behind there and just adhered that directly to the front of my card and centered it. I find I'm using this mat from Altenew all the time. It has this centerpiece where you can sit your cards and all the lines are there. It makes it so easy. And I just popped up the flower and added a signature words die with some liquid glue. So thanks so much for joining me here today. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and found some inspiration for using your cover dies. If you did enjoy it, please click on the thumbs up button to let me know that you did, and if you haven't already, it'd be wonderful if you could subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you again here real soon. Until next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.